Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. What I'd love to do on this beautiful, clear Sydney autumn morning is to go through a book, and the book that we're going to walk through today is entitled The Selfish Gene, a book that was published a long time ago in relative terms, in 1976, by an author named Richard Dawkins. And this book promises to offer a powerful and sometimes counterintuitive perspective on evolution. So let's have a look at some of the key messages that come from this book, see what we can glean, what we can learn, and what we can take and include into our own inventory of skills, knowledge, and wisdom. So the first message to come from this author is that the gene is a fundamental unit of selection. And the central argument of the book is that the gene, not the individual organism or group, is the primary unit upon which natural selection acts. It's fair to say that organisms are essentially survival machines built by genes to ensure their ongoing propagation. This gene-centric view helps explain many aspects of animal and animalistic behavior. The next message to come from this author is the apparent altruism as gene selfishness. Behaviors that appear altruistic, such as parental care or cooperation among relatives, can be understood from the perspective of gene selfishness. Because when you sit and think about it, helping relatives, an individual is indirectly helping copies of its own genes to continue to survive and reproduce. This concept is known as kin selection. We look at a thing called ESS, the power of evolutionary stable strategies, and many social behaviors and interactions can actually be analyzed in terms of evolutionary stable strategies. This is known as a strategy that, if adopted by all members of a population, cannot be invaded by any alternative strategy. Understanding ESS helps us explain why certain behaviors, both cooperative and competitive, persist in animal populations. The next point to come from this book is where we look at memes as units of cultural inheritance. Dawkins introduces the concept of memes as analogous to genes, but for cultural propagation and information. Memes are ideas, behaviours, or styles that spread from person to person through imitation. Just as genes are subject to natural selection, so too, the author argues, are memes, with some being more successful at replicating and spreading than others. And the last point to come from this book is the potential for human transcendence. While the book emphasises the selfish nature of genes, Dawkins also suggests that humans, with their capacity for consciousness and foresight, have the unique ability to go against their genetic predispositions. We can learn and teach altruism and cooperation, potentially overriding the purely selfish dictates of our own genes. In essence, this book encourages us to look at life from a gene's eye view, providing a deeper understanding of the evolutionary forces shaping the behaviour of all living organisms, including ourselves, and it also highlights the unique position of humans in being able to understand and potentially influence these specific forces. I'd just like to add a point to this as well, in terms of the selfishness that's required for all people, because you need to be selfish before you can become generous. And what I mean by this is that when we're young, when we're growing, and when we're developing, we need to focus on developing our skills, our knowledge, our wisdom, our capabilities, our confidence. And in order to do that as a young person, you need to do it in a selfish way and try and accumulate as much as you can in a very, very short period of time. And once you build your skills and capability, that's when you're in a position to be able to share these things with others and to do God's work, to be able to serve God with all your heart, mind and soul, and also serve and love your neighbour as you love yourself. But what we're saying here is you need to do it selfishly first. You can't be all things to all people at a time when you need to be throwing all of your energies and all of your efforts in terms of growing and developing your own capabilities. We need to do that in a selfish way, and when you're young and developing, it mustn't be seen as a negative. It must be seen as a doorway to success. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, and I look forward to chatting to you again soon from another place and delivering another message of empowerment. Take care and bye for now.